Let's look at CSS. CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets, is a language used to describe the look and formatting of a web page, like colors, fonts, spaces, and the layout. It works alongside HTML to make websites visually appealing and user-friendly. Let's quickly look at CSS syntax. A CSS rule consists of a selector and a declaration block. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations, and they are separated by a semicolon. Each declaration includes a CSS property and a value. Always remember the semicolon at the end of a declaration. Now let's get our project folder ready. Since we are building a photo gallery, we will need a few photos. Please get some photos from your computer to use, or save some pictures from the internet and copy them to the new folder inside your project folder. Rename your new folder to images. If your photo names are very long, I would recommend you rename them to something shorter. Now that we are ready, let's start with the basic HTML structure. I would like to quickly show you how to style an element with the HTML style attribute, also known as inline styling. The style attribute contains CSS properties and values. Let's change our H1 element color to red. Now let's change our background color of our P element to green. You can imagine how messy your code will get if you had to style each element with inline styling. Luckily, we have two other ways to do this. The first way is called Internal CSS, and it is used to define a style for a single HTML page, and it is also defined in the head section of the HTML page with the style element. Now we use the proper CSS syntax with a selector and a declaration. With the style element, we achieve the same result and our code looks cleaner. Then we get external CSS, and it is used to define the style for many HTML pages. To use an external style sheet, we add a link to our CSS file in the head section of our HTML page. But first, let's quickly add an image to our page. I think it's worth mentioning that if your images was not in the folders, you could have just used the image name and file type. But since we are using folders, we need to tell the web page to go to the image folder and look for the nature folder inside the image folder, and then look for the nature1 image and the file type. Okay, so we create a new file in our project called style.css. This link line of code is how you tell your HTML file to connect to your CSS file. Let's break it down. The link tag is an empty HTML tag, and it links the external files to your web page. The relationship attribute tells the browser that the relationship of this link is a style sheet. And the href attribute tells the browser that the style sheet is located in this file called style.css. So this line of code basically says, hey browser, apply the styles from this file called style.css to the web page. Now let's dive into CSS and see it in action. Let's quickly test our link to our HTML document using the star or the asterisk. In CSS, it's called a universal selector, and it will select all the elements on our web page. Let's set our color to red. You can see that all the elements that it selected has turned to red. And now we know our link to our HTML document works. Let's select our body element and give our whole document some basic styles. Let's give our H1 a color of sea green. And we align our web page to center everything. Let's style some more elements. These are called element selectors. The ID attribute specifies a unique ID for an HTML element. The value of the ID attribute must be unique within the HTML document. The ID attribute is used to point to a specific style declaration in a style sheet. It is also used by JavaScript to access and manipulate the element with the specific ID. In CSS, this is also called an ID selector, and we use it with the hash key to select it. The class attribute is often used to point to a class name in a style sheet. It can also be used by JavaScript to access and manipulate elements within the specific class name. A class name can be used by multiple HTML elements, while the ID name must only be used by an HTML element within the page. In CSS, we select the class name with a dot, followed by the name you assign to it. Let's add another category of pictures to our web page, and we call it Fun Time. Let's add an image and give it a class name of Fun. Since we want most of our styles of nature to apply to Fun Time, we can just add the Fun class to our nature class by adding a comma and then the Fun class. But what if we wanted to give our Fun Time a different color border? All we have to do is select the Fun class and only change what we want to change, saving us from a lot of repetitive code. As a small bonus to this project, we can make our pictures grow as we hover our mouse over the pictures. To do this, we use a single colon just after our selector and type hover. Now we need to add some CSS properties that needs to happen when we hover over our picture. To make our picture grow, we use the transform property and the value of scale to 1.1 the picture size. You can see our picture grows, but it doesn't feel smooth. To fix this, we add a transition property to take half a second to grow to the scale of 1.1. Very cool. I hope this video helped you and that you have learned the basics of CSS. In our next video, we will create a food menu with everything we've learned so far.